Let's talk about Judge Toal. Let's talk about that first.
Yeah.
Because a lot went down this week, but I still think the most important thing is that Alex now has a new judge assigned to his murder case and motions related to it. And the biggest decision probably in South Carolina judicial history in a very, very long time is going to come down to Justice Jean Toal. I think the most interesting thing that I found out about her through a lot of conversations was a lot of people say that she does what she wants and she is hard to predict. And so that makes this a lot even more interesting. She also has a long history with Dick and a long history with pretty much anyone who's had a career in the legal community in South Carolina. It seems like everybody has a story about this woman.
We had gotten word that this was going to happen, possibly, and we had mixed feelings on it. I know, Eric, you'll talk in a second about your feelings on the matter, but from everything that we have been told so far, people are saying this is like generally a good sign or a signal from the Supreme Court that they want this buttoned up fast. And it seems like what we're hearing today is that there was a phone call which Eric, you'll talk about, between the AG's office, the defense, and Jean Toal. But like Mandy said, that, from what we're also hearing is she's incredibly unpredictable. So, but I will say that even though she has a reputation on the one hand of perhaps maybe being a part of the good old boy system, maybe because she had to be, she also has a reputation, and just from the news clippings that we read over the past week, of surprising people who would think that they were her friend, or would think that they would get some sort of beneficial treatment because they were her friend, or because she thought she liked them, or something like that, So it sounds like she can be rather no nonsense. So I'm very cautiously optimistic about this.
She is a incredible powerhouse intellect, probably the smartest of any Supreme Court justice our state has ever had. It is true that she was in the legislature first, and then she jumped immediately to the Supreme Court. She wasn't an appellate court judge. She went straight from the legislature. She has a political background. So sometimes politics, I believe, infects some of her decision making, as opposed to just pure jurist. She is, though, without question, smarter than anybody in any courtroom. Probably still is, even at 80 years old. My problem with Justice Toal is sometimes her demeanor. When you see a judge like Judge Newman, who is very reserved and measured and doesn't humiliate or dress down litigants, Justice Toal is an old-time judge and judges differently than judges do today. She owns her courtroom. She pees on every corner in that courtroom. It's hers.
The other thing that is hard to predict with Justice Jean Toal is how she is going to be as far as transparency. I have heard that she likes the spotlight. I have heard that she likes making her mark. I heard that but at the same time, she is very old school. She's 80 years old. So cameras in the courtroom probably aren't, her jam. She also was a part of ruling against having cell phones in the courtroom.
Not for media, just for civilians. So
for civilians, right?
Yeah.
And Liz and I had a very long conversation about this yesterday. Is that we are both so tired of giving people the benefit of the doubt included in this story and seeing them through a lens of being a good person and wanting them to be good. And I'm tired of being disappointed by people. I'm tired of being betrayed. I'm tired of just being lied to. This year, we, all three of us have been, stabbed in the back many times. And that's been a very hard thing to handle. First of all, I want to say this, nothing to do with jury tampering in those 2,000 pages. We've seen nothing. So we have to be clear about this.
It's a good thing.
Which is a good thing. It's a good thing. And we have to keep focused on that. The bad thing is that they make Becky look horrible.
Becky made Becky look horrible, Mandy.
Becky made Becky look horrible. They tell
What
the
do you
story
mean by
of
that?
a very.
I don't understand. Tell me what you mean.
So I think we're maybe beating around the bush a little bit here. There's a couple of things happening. One is obviously there's some piece of this that we're a little self-interested in, which would be that it turns out, and Eric, I don't know if you remember this, but there was a lie going around during the trial that said that Mandy and I had been barred from the courtroom, that we had been booted from the courtroom. And I thought that this was a rumor that was just being perpetuated by people that have been jealous of us in the past, or like are threatened by our success or what have you, because it seemed to be coming from those camps. But what it turns out is the perpetrator of that lie was Becky. That she was, there's an email in there from Thad, what's his last name?
Moore.
Is it Osborne?
Moore.
Thad Moore. Okay.
I think.
Who's Thad Osborne? Okay. Thad Moore with the Post and Courier, where he actually did his due diligence and tried to get to the bottom of the rumor and asked Becky, hey, is it true that 2 reporters have lost their courtroom privileges? Which I do take issue with the word privileges, because it's not it's an open forum. It's public space. So there's no privilege in actually being in the court. You just have to obey the judge's orders. But that said, he did his due diligence and tried to get to the bottom of it. And she offered him an equivocal answer and said, well, they're not here, so it must be true. And from what we've gathered, just in various bits of information that have come to us, that she continued to perpetuate that lie, and it even went so far as to correct Jay Bender, who is a First Amendment attorney. He is an attorney to, I would venture to guess that every news agency in the state has used him at one point or consulted with him.
And he was the official media liaison of the trial.
So he was the go-between.
And Jean Toal's partner for the last 30 years before she became a judge.
And also him. Yes.
Right. Yes. And so
he's been on our show before.
That's right. And he, so he served as a liaison between Judge Newman and the court and media. So he was the one. So what bothers me about that is it speaks to our credibility. And that was the thing that bothered me from the beginning. It's just like, hey, look, we trade on our credibility. That's that you're listening to us because you know that what we're telling you is the truth, and that we've checked it, and that we did our due diligence. So for somebody to say that we did something wrong and got kicked out of the courtroom for that, but what's frustrating is to see that reporters and trolls who knew the answer. They knew that Jay Bender had said, no, that's not true. And he said it in their presence, and they decided to go with what Becky said, I guess, because they continued to perpetrate that lie and spread that rumor. We spoke with Jay Bender over text today, and I just want to read what he said, because I just want to put this to bed once and for all. Liz, happy to hear from you. Neither you, Mandy, nor any other reporter was excluded from the courtroom during the Murdoch murder trial. I am confident that had that happened, it would have been brought to my attention. So that's one thing to be angry about.
This is not petty, by the way, just to all these listeners.
We're not being petty. We're defending ourselves.
Right. Yeah. I'm saying this is not a petty gripe on our part.
Do I have my petty voice on? It feels like
no. I'm saying the listeners may think that, we're just doing that because our feelings are hurt. No. Yeah. This goes absolutely to your credibility, and I was mocked on something else that was false, but to you and Mandy.
Becky said that you had been reprimanded, Eric.
Right.
For taking a picture in the courtroom.
That's insane.
And did that happen?
It did not happen. The point I'm trying to make is people may say, oh, you guys are being petty because you're trying to, change the narrative here, and it's such a small picayune issue. It's not. This is a major issue. This is credibility. You guys are journalists. I'm a lawyer. I know how to behave. Okay. yes, at a break, I had a selfie taken with my wife and Creighton, but not during court. And nobody ever reprimanded me. And, a lie runs so fast before truth can even wake up and opens its eyes. And it just makes us look bad. And it's not petty that we're bringing this up.
It doesn't make us, it does not make us look better, because I think that we've held our own very strongly throughout this whole thing.
I want to say a couple things. We as journalists are gatekeepers of information. They tell you that in Journalism 101, the first day that you walk into class, that you are supposed to receive information and be able to figure it out, find the truth, find the story, and tell that story to your audience. That is your job. If you publish something like this, and without, it was very clear they did not read it at all. They wanted to be first, and they wanted the most traffic on their website. You are an entertainment website. You are Reddit. You are nothing better than that. You should not have privileges to be a journalist. You should not be called a journalist, because that is not journalism. That anybody can file a FOIA and just put information on and just copy paste whatever. And the other thing is that, the reason why we are gatekeepers, and the reason why a majority of, and I'm all for breaking rules in journalism. I'm all for being different in journalism. I'm all for a lot of old school rules do not help us and are a part of why media is dying right now and why no one trusts them. However, it is very important to maintain that responsibility of gatekeeping information, and that responsibility with your audience of, I'm sharing what I can with you, and the rest of it I'm keeping to myself, because it could hurt people and it could do a lot of damage. That said, what made me very mad, and another reason why I had to get off Twitter entirely and I had to just go for a walk, get away from everything. We have a fan named Trista. And Trista has special needs. And I started getting a tweet, I believe, one tweet had screenshotted Trista's emails to Becky. And this person who was just being very, it's hard because this stuff shouldn't have been out there to begin with, but it was troll food for the entire internet, and people just trying to get attention, and people wanting to take down Becky, take down me, take down anybody. That's what Twitter was yesterday. But one person tweeted a screenshot of Trista's emails with Becky, including her contact information, and they obviously did not know who Trista was, and they were tweeting at me saying, look, Becky giving this person VIP treatment. How dare Becky, blah, blah, blah. This girl Trista's all excited to go through the back door and get a special seat. How dare Becky, blah, blah, blah. And that's a perfect example of why we are gatekeepers of information, and why, if anybody would have read that entire thing, would have taken those parts out, because it doesn't do anything, or tell the story of it.
Yeah, tell the story of it.
Trista has special needs, and she is an amazing person, the sweetest person with the purest heart that I've met in all of this. She came and gave us individual gifts during the trial. She is a huge listener of this show. She listens to it with her mom. She listens to both of our shows every week with her mom in the car. And she's gotten very, very interested in the Murdoch situation. And also, she has been the subject of horrible rumors throughout the trial. A lot of people on TikTok and on Twitter said that she was a member of the Murdoch family, and were tweeting and TikToking about that. And because people are awful.
We should say that when we pointed it out to the that media agency, they did take it down. But your point is, it should have never been there in the first place. That's what you're saying.
Right. My point is that it should have never. Be responsible with the information. Take ownership of it, and these things can hurt people recklessly. When you're on a mission when you are on a mission to do nothing but be first and get the most amount of clicks, let's end the show with a positive note.
Yeah.
Trista has an amazing company called Trista's Sunshine Company, and she makes all sorts of fun crafts, and I want everyone to go to her website and check it out. It is tristasunco.com. And I think that I'm going to order a ton of things from there. I'm very late on my Christmas gifts, obviously. But I think it would be great if we saw a bunch of our members support her and her company. And I want to spread as much sunshine as possible because she's an amazing person. And I don't want people to forget that.
I just want to wish you guys all the best. And I'm just so glad that, you are my sisters.
You too, Eric. Merry Christmas to all, and to all comes down.
Awesome. Comes down, guys.